Welcome to Hardbacks and Hot Flashes. I'm Ro, a 40-something woman trying to read her way through midlife and all the madness that comes along with it. Strap in for some in-depth and hilarious observations from a woman who's reaching her peak feminine rage era. We'll talk about all things books, genres, tropes, and those smutty scenes that bring on the other hot flashes. Today is the get to know you portion of the podcast. As this is the first ever episode, I thought I should let you guys know a little bit more about me and what you can expect while listening to the podcast. So, hi, I'm Ro, and this is my first ever episode of Hardbacks and Hot Flashes. So, I'm going to give you a little bit of information about what you can expect for the podcast, what I'm going to be talking about, who I'm going to be talking to, all that kind of stuff. But basically, I'm a 40-something-year-old woman, married mum of four. This is not my first podcast, though. This is my first time by myself on a podcast, but this isn't my first podcast. I was actually part of a podcast called The Plot with a Twist, which I did with my book bestie, Alora. We had the best time, but this one is just me, and I'm coming at it from a little bit of a different perspective. I'm coming at it from the viewpoints of a 40-something-year-old woman who's been reading books most of her life and who is entering her feminine rage era, who's no longer going, oh, yeah, I understand the decisions of that 19-year-old. I get it. I don't get it. I don't. But that is why this is going to be good. In saying that, though, I wrote all the Plot with a Twist podcast. So if you want to go back and check out the other episodes, listen to Laura and I just talk smack about books, go for it. We had the best time. Editing wise was all Laura, though. So if this is terrible, it's really not my fault. I'm really sorry. But I don't know what I'm doing editing wise. So suck it up, deal with it, and I'll get better as I go along. But basically, I've been a reader all my life. I started with YA and then moved through to dystopian, fantasy, romantasy, and I ended up in dark romance. And that's where I sit most of the time now. I'm a dark romance reader. I love Dramani at the minute. I'm sitting so hard in Dramani fanfics. It's not funny, and they are the best. They're the best. I'm going to do an episode on Dramani fanfics because some of them are just phenomenal. And at this point, I just need books to surprise me. I need books to give me something different. If you can hold my interest as someone who I said in her 40s and has been reading most of her life, I kind of guess things a lot. And not that that's a bad thing, but it's sometimes I'm like, saw that coming. I need to be surprised at this point in my life. I need to be like, oh, wow, didn't see that one coming. And that's what I'm going to like about this, doing this podcast and coming at it from the point of view of a 40-something-year-old woman with completely different perspectives. And when we're talking about book analysis and book reviews, different perspectives are what make a review. It's what makes the book, really. If you're reading a book and everyone's got the same opinion, you're kind of like, I don't know about this. But it's amazing to talk about these books from a different life perspective, different life experiences, different cultures, different backgrounds. And that is what I'm going to do with this one. This one's focused, as I said, on 40-something-year-old women. I'm going to embrace this era of my life. If I'm going to have to go through hot flashes and perimenopause and menopause and everything like that, I'm going to embrace it. And I'm sick and tired of having to justify my opinion. So if I feel like there's an FMC who's doing some really dumb things and being an utter idiot, Feyre, I'm going to say that. I'm going to say it. I'm going to say, you know what? You're a really idiotic 19-year-old, especially if you're coming from a fantasy or a romantasy point of view where it's set in a medieval setting where, you know, someone who is 19, 20, 21 should be a little bit smarter, should be a little bit more worldly. I'm going to say it because, you know, at times those characters irritate the crap out of me. This podcast is also not just going to be about books and everything like that. Mainly it's going to focus on books, but you are going to hear me talking about the period of menopause, perimenopause, and where I'm actually currently in my life. So if you hear me talking about the fact that I'm getting hot flashes and it's not to do with the spicy scene that I'm reading, it's the fact that my body's decided that it's going to change everything about me. You might have to just deal with it. Now, is this going to be easy for me? No, not really. Do I feel like an utter idiot sitting here talking to myself, like I'm looking at myself having a conversation? Yeah, a little bit. Little bit. And I don't have anyone to bounce off of, but I'm sure I'll get used to it. As I said, this podcast is going to be more about coming from an older woman's perspective. So while this podcast is about books, It's also gonna have references to life outside of books. It's gonna have references, as I said, to perimenopause and menopause and all the things that women have to go through dealing with this change in our lives. We go through prepubescent years and puberty just so we can get the damn thing. And then halfway through our life, our body's like, biology's like, sorry, no, we're not going to do this anymore. And we're going to change it up. And you're going to reverse that cycle that we went through all those years ago. And it's going to suck just as much. So you may hear me talking about the irritating behaviors that drive me mental, like repeating myself, especially to my husband. Oh my God. Especially to my husband. I understand my kids make me repeat myself 5, 6, 7 times, and by the 7th time, I'm screaming at them. But the fact that I have to repeat myself to my husband is also irritating. So we're going to talk about those issues as well and how it affects how we review books. So I'm coming at this basically from my own viewpoint. Okay. So please don't hold anything against me. These are just my opinions. And honestly, opinions are like assholes. Everybody's got one, right? So if you don't agree, cool, awesome, love that. But I'm in my 40s now. So I'm at the age of where I don't actually care anymore. I'm embracing this I don't give up era that I'm in, where I'm happy for everyone to have their opinions, and especially on books, have your opinion. But if we don't agree, then we don't agree, and that's cool. We can just agree to disagree. That's where I'm at with this. And I think that's going to be the best part of this podcast is that it is what it is. I'm going to embrace this era. I'm going to embrace the fact that, yeah, I don't actually care. I spent 40 odd years being nice, doing the right thing, turning the other cheek, being the bigger person. And now I'm just like, no, I've earned this right. I'm going to comment on the 20-something-year-old in this book and go, you're a dumbass. And that's just how it's going to be. So what books can you expect me to review? Well, I'll pretty much read anything. I will. Aside from horror. I'm not going to go down the horror route because I don't actually like horror. Saw Pet Sematary as a kid. Never going back. I can't do it. I have done the horror romance. And while I was intrigued, there were times where I was like, no, I think I'm going to be sick. But the writing was good, so I did finish those books. So I will dabble, but if you're talking like Stephen King, like you're talking horror, I'm out. I am a Potterhead. I have been a Potterhead for the last 20, 25 years. I'm not coming out of there, and I'm a Slytherin, so you know that I'm awesome. Suzanne Collins, cannot wait for the next movie. Read all the Hunger Games. Will be doing a reread of Sunrise on the Reaping before I go to see that movie. I have read Pen Pal by J.C. Geisinger. These are some of my all-time favorite books. If you haven't read it and you want to have a book that's just like, I don't know what's going on. Am I right? Am I wrong? Wait, is this actually happening? And then you get to the end and you're like, holy crap. Pick it up because it's amazing. I'm clearly, oh no, maybe you can't see them. No, because they're on my other shelf. I'm clearly a Fourth Wing fan. I love Fourth Wing. I cannot wait for the next book in the series. Do I believe it's beautifully written poetry? No. Is it an amazing time to read? Absolutely. And I go on vibes a lot. I've done Lights Out by Nevessa Allen. So these, as I said, these are all like my favorite books that I've read and reread numerous times. Butcher and Blackbird by Bryn Weaver. Anything by L.J. Shen. Love her. Bad Bishop is like my 6-star read for this year. So good. I'm going to be doing a review on that whole entire series. Anything by Kaya Carrington Russell. She is my girl. I love her. And I have read all of her books. If you haven't read her Insidious Obsession series, oh my God, get on it because it's amazing. Is dark romance, so check your triggers. Anything by TJ Maguire, anything by Evelyn Gallus. Like, I will read pretty much anything. I'm monster, I'm alien, I'm fantasy, I'm romantasy. I'm not so much into contemporary anymore or rom-com. I get bored easily now. If they're not nasty, if they're not mean to her just a little bit, I'm kind of like, no thanks. However, my favorite book of all time is Wuthering Heights. I have 5, 6 copies of that book. And if I was to ever get a book tattoo, it would be a quote from that. I absolutely adore that book. It's not a love story. Well, the first part is not a love story. The second part is. The first part is just focused on the most toxic relationship you've ever read in your life between Kathy and Heathcliff. Heathcliff is one of the OG morally grey men. Just, I loved it. I loved this book. And if you've never read it, pick it up because it's absolutely amazing. Currently, I'm reading Dramani fanfic. I am stuck in the world of Dramani fanfic, and I don't think I'm going to come out because I have been given so many amazing recommendations that I cannot wait to do an episode on this. My favorite Dramani so far is Meet Me in Dreamland. Superb is all I'm going to say. I'm anxiously waiting for the next book in the Society of Villains by Al Shen, which is Fallen Rook. That's got my main man Enzo. Cannot wait for that one. Cannot wait. And I'm actually reading at the moment The Witchwood Boys Are Trending by C.M. Stunich. I'm pronouncing that wrong and I'm so sorry. But, so this is reverse harem Waichu's 4 guys, 1 girl. They kind of bully / trick her into their coven because they need her help. And it is amazing. I am loving it so far. That's really it for what I'm sort of stuck on reading. But if you've got recommendations, drop them in the comments for me because I'm always up for anyone's recommendations. Again, kind of stay away from the rom-com and the contemporary, but I'll give it a go. I'm not going to lie and say that I won't. I will. Won't necessarily enjoy it, and I'm ADNF, but I'll give it a go because I love getting recommendations from everyone. It's one of the most amazing things about this community. So that's kind of everything about me. That's my little introduction about myself. What can you expect from the podcast? Well, lots, actually. Aside from the perspective that I'm coming at these book reviews from, I'm going to do, obviously, book analysis, book reviews, series reviews. I'm going to do author interviews. I have actually already interviewed an author. This episode will be coming out next week, and it is with the amazing Amanda Connolly. She's the debut author of The Lure of Wolves and Whispers, which is an epic fantasy. It's got heavy fantasy elements in this book, and it was absolutely amazing. I love chatting with Amanda. She's such a talented woman. She's just gorgeous. I loved having a chat with her, and the book was absolutely captivating. So stay tuned for that next week. I'm going to be having chats with other book content creators. I've got a few that I'm friends with, and we have an absolute blast when we get together. That's my first introductory mini episode to let you know all about the podcast, what you can expect, what I'm like, what I'm interested in, how much absolute crap I'm going to talk, because that's what I'm going to do. Again, deal with the edits. I'm sure I'll get better. I'm sure I will eventually be awesome at this, but at first, it's going to be average. Nothing I can do about that. I'm going to have to deal with it. As I said, I'm literally looking at a screen, talking to myself. It feels weird. Feels really, really weird. But I'm going to enjoy this. I'm going to take this as far as I possibly can. I hope you guys come along with me and tune in next week for that interview with Amanda Connolly. Thank you for listening to Hardbacks and Hot Flashes. I'll be back next week with an all-new unhinged bookish episode.